So breeding groups have been broken down. 3 rams that we used in breeding this year are in this pen. 2 of them are lambs. There's Sebastian in the front with the skirrs, and then the guy that's just walking to the left is, I believe, Duncan. And then we used Harry, the white ram. He's actually a yearling. He's in here with the lambs because he was getting roughed up pretty badly by the mature rams. So we decided to move him over here, and everybody is getting along really nicely, which is a great thing with rams. One thing we did was we locked him in this lower part of this shed for half a day, and we had 2 bales of hay in there, 2 full bales with the baling twine on them, so that they wouldn't have a lot of space to charge each other, and that worked out really good. So all the females that were out in breeding groups are all back here in the main pasture. This is where they'll be overwintered, safe and sound for the next 147 days while they gestate and create babies. Nice to have them all back together again. So these 4 guys are all in this pen, which if I try and go close, they come up and I can't get there. So we got Loki's the black ram, Jon Snow's the gray, Frederick is the fawn, and the Morit doesn't have a name yet. He's one of those, he's a lamb from last year that we just really like and don't want to get rid of quite just yet. These rams, the first 2 days, they were locked in that white calf hut back there, trying to get along, and they're still behaving like rams, but at least they're not smashing heads, which is always the concern. And here's our hay situation. So definitely have made a dent, but there's we got enough hay, plenty of hay to hold us through lambing. And then also the top of the barn is loaded with hay. So just as we deplete the hay, we'll remove those skids down there, and those will free up space. So eventually I'll be able to store more stuff in here, but holding out pretty well with the hay, thank goodness. So that's how we got stuff set up. So that's how we have everything set up right now. This is gonna hold us through till lambing, which is gonna be mid-April. So there's, always going to be plenty of stuff to do. This week I want to try and get the barn cleaned out. There's always something. So, but it's nice that we're user-owned the barn, and the rams are all getting along, and I've only got 3 pens to tend. So today is the day that I'm going to be registering the lambs we had in 2021, as well as completing all the required paperwork to transfer any sheep that we have sold as registered stock throughout the year. So the reason that you register your animals, there's a few reasons. Number one is if you want to participate in any livestock shows like 4-H fairs or county fairs, stuff like that, you have to show proof of registration. And the proof of registration, the second reason you want it, is because it demonstrates a pedigree for that animal that shows that it is a purebred of the breed. So in our case, a purebred Shetland. And our paperwork goes back 5 generations of all of its ancestors, and they all have to be registered Shetlands in order for you to be able to register your Shetland. It's also a record of that animal, so when you register your sheep, it goes into a database in the breed registry, and there's other information that you can put in there about that sheep to kind of lock it in, what color it is, whether it was a twin or a single, all sorts of different details about the animal. So that's another benefit for registering your animals, is that you have them in a database, documented, and if you ever need to go in there to look up any information about that sheep, what its ancestry or its progeny or its offspring, you can go into the database really quickly and easily and find that information. So those are the three main reasons for registering sheep. Rich and I will also use the registry when we're breeding to look at the background of an animal going back even beyond the 5 generations. If we're looking for specific traits in that breeding season, the information that we can collect about different animals that are behind the sheep that we're breeding with will give us some direction as we work to achieve specific goals with our flock. So when you register a Shetland in the NASA database, much like a dog breed, you get a piece of paper, and that is sort of like your vehicle registration and a birth certificate, kind of a combination, just like I said, with all the information that's relevant for that particular animal. So my system for keeping track of my animals is, I've got actually, well, there's three systems I have. One is physical, paper files. I have 2 file boxes for 2 different things. I also have an Excel file on my laptop that I use to keep records. And then also I take advantage of the NASA database as a sort of a backup, because all the information about the registered animals is kept in there. So in this filing cabinet, this little plastic portable bin is my current flock. So every sheep, these are just some samples I have to file. Every sheep in the flock has got a folder in this bin. And I have, the Pendaflex folders are each year. And then within each year is the individual animals file. And we'll just pull out, look at there, Alice Paul. So in each folder, I have, in this particular one, is a copy of her registration, a fiber sample from 2021, and her registration paper. The sheep can be identified in a few different ways. So the first way a sheep can be identified is just by the name I gave her, so Alice Paul. The second way I can identify Alice Paul is by her ear tag. So in the early summer, when we do our second round of CDTs, we will tag the animals. It's like piercing their ears. And each tag has a unique identifier, and that is what we put on the registration paperwork. That's their ear tag. So many times farms don't name their animals. They reference the ear tag to keep track of that particular animal. And then the third identifier is the registration number. So if you've registered your stock, which you don't have to register your sheep, but if you do register them, the NASA registry assigns them their own unique identifier. And with the NASA registry, it starts with an S, a capital S, and then 5 numeric characters following the S, and that's that animal's registration number. So I'm going to put that back, and I actually keep them in order of ear tags. So Alice Paul is 1375. It's you know, a little work up front really saves you a ton of time when it's time for the stuff like doing this. Now, in this box, which I have many of these, I keep information about transfers for that year, or any movement of the sheep out of the flock to another farm, to auction. If they should happen to pass that year, then their folder comes over into this box, and it's by year. So I've got I've got on here 2021 sheep sales. I'll probably put a couple years worth of sheep transfers or sales or movement in this box. And the way I do this, every time I sell a sheep to somebody, I complete a sales agreement, which is sort of the basis for that particular customer's folder. And in the sales agreement, I list the sheep that person received, and I also note whether or not it's registered. If it is registered, then I have to do some paperwork to transfer the ownership in the registry from our farm to that person's farm. So any sheep that happened to be sold to that particular person, so this is like a customer that bought a sheep from us. They have their own folder, separate folder with their name on it and the date that they picked up the animal. It seems really obsessive, but honestly, it is so much easier to have it organized like this. So I know it's supposed to be a hobby, and I turned it into this kind of OCD system, but whatever. So everybody that's purchased a sheep gets a folder, and in that folder goes all the information for all those sheep. So I just take everything out of the folder and dump it in the person's folder. I also note that on my Excel file that particular sheep got moved to a particular location. And in the NASA database, if I search by their registration number, if I've transferred them as registered stock, it shows me where they went. So there was a good amount of redundancy with the systems, but each system has their own benefits. Once I finish registering, and I do that online, but once I get that finished, a few weeks go by, possibly months will go by, and I'll get a packet from the registry with a pedigree sheet for each of the sheep that I've registered. And I'll look that over, I'll check it against what I have in my Excel file and the paperwork that I have created. I'll create a folder for each of those lambs that I've registered and put them in the folder. I didn't buy any registered stock this year, but if I did, I'd be waiting for the transfer paperwork to come in the mail for me. So on occasion, we'll be known to buy a ram, or like last year we bought a white and a black ewe because we were trying to add more of those colors to the flock. So when those come in, I'll create those folders. I'll add another green Penda Flex folder and put all those registered sheep in there. All of the ewes in our flock are registered, and we'll selectively register the rams based on, our need for them as breeding stock. Sometimes we'll hold them over and wait to decide whether we want to register them or not. I usually register sheep at the end of the year just because it's easier to do everything at once, registering the lambs, transferring any lambs that we may have sold, and then doing the transfer paperwork for the adults. Just doing it all at once is a lot more efficient for me. The breed association that we belong to is called NASA, N-A-S-S-A. It's short for North American Shetland Sheep Breeders Association. And they maintain an online database that we use pretty heavily to research and to keep track of our flock and just get all sorts of information from their really comprehensive database of Shetland sheep that are registered. And so every Shetland sheep goes into that database as their own record, and you can go in there and you can look and see what offspring they produced. You can get information about their parentage. You can go back as many generations as are in the database, but typically the paperwork that you get only goes back 5. But the data is pretty comprehensive, and the database is growing every year, of course. So there's a lot of stuff in there. So actually, I just got something from NASA. This is probably my membership reminder. Membership is $40 for your initial membership, and then it's $25 after that. And I'm just going to give you some of the costs for registering sheep. So it costs $6 to register a ewe. It costs $11 for registering a ram. Transfers cost $6 or $15. They do offer a duplicate certificate fee, so if you lost your certificate or whatever, $6 for that. So this year, picking out the names, I tried something a little bit different. I held a Facebook Live event where I presented each lamb to the group that is being registered, and then the attendees of the event commented and gave me ideas for character names from Shakespeare plays that they thought would match the story of the lamb. It was a lot of fun and made the task of selecting names so much easier for me. Here is the Excel file where I maintain all my data about the flock. I also call this my master flock spreadsheet. So in here, I'm going to be updating the column for the name now that we've identified all the names for the lambs that I'm going to be registering. And then where I've got rams I'm holding on to, but I'm not registering yet, I'll just leave their names blank. And I also will be filling in the registration number once I get the paperwork back from NASA. So once I have the name selected and added to my spreadsheet, I am ready to begin to register them. So the information required is the registration number for the parents of the lamb. You can search on other things, but it is just fastest to type in the registration number. Once you get all the information loaded and all the lambs in the database, then you check out and get your invoice. To transfer lambs that I am registering, I can transfer them when I register them. If I sell older stock that's already registered, there's a spot on the back of the pedigree where I can write the information needed and then snail mail that information to the registry so they can process the transfer. Transfers will show in the database as being bred by us, but actually being part of the new owner's flock. So the database manages that. They've got two separate fields for breeder and owner. The NASA Registry database can be viewed by anyone. There is a public access site to the database, so you could search all sorts of fields like flock number, sheep name, state, and many other fields without having to register or become a member of NASA. So there are benefits to having registered stock. Number one, if you want to show, you're going to have registered stock. Number two is it's nice to know that you have purebred Shetlands, so they don't have any cross influences going back as many generations as possible, at least 5 generations. And then the third benefit of registering your sheep is you can take advantage of that online database. And that's a big benefit. Like I said, for Rich and I, we use that very frequently to get a better understanding of what it is that makes up the sheep that are in our flock. So hopefully you found this helpful and enjoyed it. If you want to help me, please click on the like and subscribe buttons beneath this video. Thanks a lot. So I thought it's been a while since I've shared some of the stuff I've made with the wool from our sheep. So I'm going to take a few minutes here and do just that. This basket has a skein that I made and washed. This is black lock spun, actually gray lock spun with white lace weight plied. And it's enough to make that the Bumbly hat. That is my latest obsession. Very soft. Really love how this comes out. Super textured, and it looks terrific when you knit it up. It looks a little bit funky on the skein. And then I wanted to show you this beautiful thing. I received this last fall and hadn't been making videos, so it's a little sampler, lace sampler of hand spun locks from our ewe Freya, who is now living at the Center for Discovery in Central New York. But one of my friends spun this up with Freya's wool and then knit a gorgeous lace little sampler and sent this to me. So I have it hanging on my grid wall with some of my other special items, little treasures. I just love this. It's so delicate and pretty and such a lovely, just a lovely thing for someone to gift me. I was really proud to get this. So I just enjoy it. I look at it every so often. Again, very soft. This was a lace spin on an antique wheel and then knit into this beautiful little doily or whatever. I have this skein. So if you've been watching my recent videos, I am definitely at the bottom of my stash. I don't really stash fiber because usually I'm just spinning my own wool. And I'm now at the point where I am scavenging, and I happened to find this treasure trove of gray fiber, and I spun this up into this really pretty, just a nice 2-ply yarn. And it's not a huge amount. I actually overspun it significantly, so I ended up, when I plied it, so I unplied it, whatever that's called, and redid it. Just a gorgeous, this would be what I would call Shayla. So both of these skeins I need to mark and put in the shop. They're already washed and ready to go. Then there's some yarns that I just recently finished making. I can't remember what this is. Well, it's from a black ewe, and it definitely is a fleece that I just found. I know, okay. So it was a fleece I found, or a portion of a fleece, and the locks were really short for some reason, consistently. But it was really clean. And so what I did was I just paddle carded it, which I don't normally do. Normally I flick it. Made it into like fluffy, I'm not really good at making pretty roll eggs, but kind of technically that's what they were. And then I did long draw to make a woolen spin from this, pretty black. And I think my vision was I'm going to take this and turn it into a hat. So I'm not going to list this in the shop because it's extremely textured and pretty primitive. I don't know that a knitter would like this, but I think it'll make a really cool jet black hat. So that's what that's going to turn into, if I have enough. I'm vacillating between either making fingerless mitts or a hat with it, a cap. So the woolen spin made it a lot bulkier. Normally I'm doing the worsted where it's, you know, everything is lined up and it's very strong and whatever, but the woolen is, I'm just kind of just getting into this more textured, squishy yarn, and I'm starting to understand the appeal. This is a skein from our Yukoki, whose fleece is incredibly soft, really, really fine. But also this year, once again, she sheared very short. And so I was able to flick and spin a small quantity of the fiber in a lace weight. And then the short pieces did a real bulky spin just from the locks. I didn't even bother to card it. And this has got an immense amount of texture. It's also still quite rich with lanolin. Still very sheepy. So I will most likely list this, but then also, you know, list it, offer it for sale. But then if it sits there for a while, I think I might take it and make the fingerless mitts or a hat with it. It's really soft and squishy. This has to get washed, as does that black skein. And then I am working on my self-striping yarns. I ran out again. And it was funny, I was talking to a woman at the Knitting Guild in Buffalo, and, you know, feeling sorry for myself that, oh, I can never keep this self-striping yarn in stock. And she said, well, maybe you should make more. Like, okay, you're a genius. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to try making more. This is 5 colors: black, moret, fawn, gray, and white. So and I use this for the Pioneer gloves, fingerless mitts. Really pretty, really soft. This is from when if you guys remember, I unpacked those, what I was going to use for pillow forms, and found a treasure trove of washed fiber locks, things that I don't know what I was thinking about, but they were not good. And I carded a bunch of that up, enough to get actually 2 skeins. I'm finishing up the second one. And what I want to do is try and get a third, so that I'll have 3 skeins of self-striping. This I have to wash still. So that's in that process. On my wheels, so right now I've got 2 active projects. One is on the Susie, and that is a lock spun yarn. And I think I'm probably gonna get 2 skeins, which I'm gonna then ply with a black lace weight that I made from the same, oh, here it is. I'm gonna ply it with this. Oh, I like it when I'm organized like that. So there's enough here for the 2 skeins, and I just flicked whatever I could from this. Again, this is just another found fleece, which I'm running out. This was just a bunch of neck wool, I think. And I keep saying this is the end. I think I might have a little bit more out there, but anyways, this is pretty short also, but has very nice curly tips. So I am going to lock spin it. Like I said, I probably have enough here for 3 skeins. And then ply it with this So that's probably by the end of February. Or no, wait a minute, where are we? This is January 1st. Probably by the end of the month, I'll have those skeins washed and ready to go. I do have a live sale event at the end of February that I'm trying to get my inventory built back up. So that's on my Susie. And then on my, this rose is not as heavy as that Susie for some reason. Oh, I guess it's because the wheel's not solid. But on my rose, I am doing, this is the self-striping yarn. Let me get it up there. On the bobbin, super pretty. So that's my second skein that I'm working on. And what I'll do, I'm almost done. I think I did a video on how I make self-striping yarns. So what I'll do is I have 5 piles of the color, and I do, in order to get a 2.3 ounce skein, which is what I need to make those Pioneer mitts, I will get myself 0.55 ounces of the 5 colors and then spin 0.11 ounces of each color at a time. So right now I am on the black. This is flicked, ready to go, which I found. It was in a plastic pretzel container, already flicked up, so I don't know when I did this and how I had the forethought to set it aside. So I'm doing the black stripe right now, and then I've only got one more round of 0.11 ounces of each color to go, and then I can chain ply this. And I'll probably chain ply it on this same wheel because this is my old rose, which I love this wheel desperately. So those are my projects, and I just want to show you one other special thing I received as a Christmas gift that I got, very many lovely gifts from many people, but one I thought you guys would appreciate that I want to share with you now. It is my very first ever proper project bag. So I've been knitting for approximately 48 years, never had a proper project bag. And I did actually, now that I say that, my grandmother, when I had first started knitting, bought me one of those ones that opens up. It has like 2 pieces that are hinged together and they fold up like this, and then you open it up and the bag suspends in the handles, and I loved that thing. I took it with me everywhere, which I think back now, I was in the 4th grade with this kind of old lady knitting basket thing. I must have looked hilarious, but I loved that thing. All right, so this is a project bag. Now, it's special for a couple reasons. Number one is that I sourced it from a friend. So this is Prairie Bag Works, and it's Sue Wilkins. So I met Sue when I had a booth at the Jefferson County Sheep and Wool Festival, which is in Wisconsin. And we just clicked, kind of kindred spirits. She is really into like Shetland Wool Week, so she enjoyed seeing the sheep, the photos of the sheep on the yarn and whatnot. She's a knitter, very talented woman, and she has this business. It's called Prairie Bag Works. It's an Etsy shop, and when I was making my Christmas wish list for my family, because I like to give them ideas, her shop was on the list, and I pretty much said, I would love anything out of her shop. She's just got such neat stuff. I'm going to put a link to her shop in the notes here. But I just want to point, there's just so many things. First of all, the business card was in the bag. In the business card, and this might be a thing everybody does, but I've never seen it. I just thought it was the cleverest. She's got a ruler on her business card. Absolutely love it. And then she's got the washing instructions on the card. Just tons of little nice, lovely details. Here's another detail. The zipper is a little charm. It says, eat, sleep, knit with a ball of yarn. There we go. So that's adorable. Then inside is, there's 4 cards which have a little checklist for care instructions. So when you make a gift for somebody. Hand spun 4 on one side here, blank. And then the care instructions on the other side. And then there is the Kitchener stitch directions and her business card. There's another set of cards that I'll take a photo. It's not in here, but there was 3 note cards like this size. I can't remember what the dimension is. With for notes on your project that you can keep. And then also is this really cool ring, and there's a little loop on the inside to hold the ring, and the ring has, I'm going to take it off, the stitch marker charm holders. There's 4 of them, different colors. And then also there came with this, but I'm already using it, a little sheep charm. It's just so cute. And I don't know, this might just be very standard practice for project bags, but I'm just so happy. Then on the inside, another ruler, which I just think that is a super good idea. 2 on the inside, there's 2 pockets on each side, and then plenty of space on the bottom for, I'm just kind of setting my skeins in the bottom. Can you see that? So, just really special. And 2 different ways of, 2 straps for like carrying it or hanging it on something. Just very lovely details. And then of course the pattern is sheepy woolly knit things. So that was really a very special gift that I received. I did make another ball. This is a recent one I just finished. Actually, I've got another one I did. And this one has face forward, facing sideways. And I've got them all the way around. I use white this time for the ball. And I'm also, I can't stop working on them. Oh, I just removed a whole bunch of stitches. All right, well, I'm gonna do that right now. This one is gonna be just cream and fawn stripes, which has always been one of my favorite. Favorite color combinations. So in here right now, this is technically white, but I think it's a creamy color. And then I got fawn, and then I have black, and I'm very soon going to cake up a gray for myself to enjoy, to make even more fun balls. So these balls are just my obsession right now. And I don't know when it's gonna end, but I don't care, because I'm not gonna worry about it. So yes, that was just really special. I just love it. Love it, love it. It was from my son. All right, so I think what I'm gonna do now is just spin a little bit, and then I'm gonna say goodbye. And thank you again for watching, sticking it out here to the end of this episode. So thanks and goodbye. I hope you have a great week.